After a crisis hits, one of the biggest challenges that a leadership team has is figuring out when to stop listening and helping people get over it, and when to start pushing again. And this is more art than science, really, but I'd like to share a story about myself when I was a relatively new sales rep after the 9/11 attacks. On the day that the Twin Towers were hit, I was at a customer. We were having a kickoff meeting, and I was on an absolute roll at the time. I was 120, 130% of quota, and felt really good about where I was going to finish the year. Assistant came in, broke into a meeting we were having. There were 6 or 7 of us in the room, told us what had happened, and rolled in a television. And we sat with their customer and we watched for 30 minutes while both towers fell. And we called the meeting. That was it. We didn't want to do any more business at the time, and I drove back to the office. And the entire rest of that day was a wash. Everyone was in the office. No one really wanted to work. Everyone was just trying to figure out what was happening. And truthfully, we were scared. We didn't know if there was going to be another attack, what would happen. That was a Tuesday. On Wednesday, felt like a lot of the same, right? Everyone was trying to gather information. Did you read the paper? What did you hear on the news? Who attacked us? What did they do? Are there going to be more of these? What's the military doing in response? What do we think the impact is going to be on business? Guess what? Thursday and Friday, more of the same. The weekend comes. All anyone did on the weekend after 9/11 was watch television and watch the news, really. We were trying to figure out who's Al-Qaeda, who is Osama bin Laden, who are these people that bombed us? What can our government even do to stop it if they want to do it again? And in the meantime, the stock market absolutely plummeted. They had to shut it down at one point. And there was this feeling of dread that came over me of sitting and watching the news all weekend. And by Monday morning, I had convinced myself that no one was ever going to buy anything from me ever again, that every business was going to just shut down, that we were going to war, that my quota was goodbye. I was feeling bad for myself. And my manager noticed this when I came into the office, noticed me still moping around, feeling bad for myself, gossiping a little bit on what happened. And he brought me into his office and he closed the door. And at that moment, he flipped a switch. He flipped the switch from the week before, where he was very accommodating, he was very empathetic, where he wanted to listen, he wanted to hear everyone's emotions, what was going on, to this day, he got very directive with me. And I loved his approach when I look back at it. He said, look, out there are 20 engineers that are scared to death. They are asking me if there's going to be layoffs. They're asking me if their jobs are safe. They're asking me if customers are going to cancel orders. And you are a leader. Whether you like it or not, you're in sales. You have the voice of the customer. All of these questions that are in their head, you can be in front of the customer right now and coming back and giving these engineers confidence. You've got to pick yourself up and focus on what's in your control. Yes, the world has changed. Yes, it is very different than it was just a couple of weeks ago, but people are still buying and people still have to do business. Do your job. And it did everything it needed to do. I left that office, I went back in, got to my phone, and I started calling customers, because there was no way in the world I was going to feel bad for myself knowing that my friends in the office, these engineers were friends of mine, these were my peers, that they could lose their job if I froze and did nothing, if I didn't adapt, if I didn't change. The third customer I talked to that day told me that he was moving his December maintenance outage up into September, and asked me, do you know anyone who does power systems work? He was used to us as a group that did automation work for him. And I told him we have an entire department that does power, and we have engineers right now in our office that are 20, 30 years of experience that would love to do that work. I had a purchase order the next day, and those engineers were fully billed and working that weekend on a 2-week outage. It was a nice order for me, a nice purchase order, and one I wouldn't have had if my manager wouldn't have been direct. So leaders right now, you're dealing with this. We have this crisis. We have the coronavirus. We have a pandemic. And people are scared. They're watching the news. They're talking to their peers. They're talking to their friends. They're stuck in the house. And the tendency is to freeze, to do nothing, to feel bad for yourself, to look back a month ago when times were better and to lament of how everything was going so well before all this happened to us. And you as a leader need to be able to figure out when to flip the switch and start getting people, putting that pressure back on people that we have to focus, or feeling sorry for ourselves is going to end up in our company going bankrupt. And the best way that you can do that is to rally people around a team. Get them to think altruistically. Get them to think the actions I take can help my teammates, can help my friends, can help people in this office. Get them to quit feeling sorry and acting selfishly for themselves and to think about one team. Because if they can't do that, the company is going to go away. If people all freeze and do nothing, you'll make a crisis much worse than if you've got everyone pulling and working hard to move next. Because this economy is going to pick up. Your company is going to survive if everyone puts the work in and gets focused on what is in their control. I'm Ian Matthews, owner of 5on4 Group. If you want to learn more about leading in times like this, check out our website, 5on4.group, or follow our blog.